Hey, what's going on there, everybody? It's the same Leg here representing TeamJVS, here to give you guys another movie review. I'm talking about the horror film called Barbarian. This was directed by Zach Cregler. Zach Cregler, I think this is one of his first horror films that he's ever done. Very low budget, but has some very refined stars. And you got Justin Long in this, Bill Skarsgård, and then amazing Georgina Campbell. Now, Georgina Campbell's character is supposed to be going to an Airbnb. It's like all of us. Like when we go and travel, we go to a spot that we're supposed to get, and it's overbooked. For whatever reason, Bill Skarsgård's character is already there, and there's kind of like this weird mix-up, and it already off-break seems very suspect. The thing that makes this film so very fascinating is that their choice of camera placement, angles, it plays to the classic understanding of how horror films work. Fundamentally, the framing of this is near perfect for how a good horror film is supposed to go, how it's supposed to entice you and never let you stop. Like to the point you're kind of like, oh my God. Now I'll say this movie is very violent, very gory, very disturbing at times. Like there's some of the most gruesome scenes I've seen this year in this film. Bill Skarsgård does an amazing job. Like he's in it for a good amount of time, and the way that they use him, the way they play him up is very well. It's very interesting how they use him. Justin Long the same exact way, where it's kind of like he's kind of like the odd person out, and your perceptions of him changes off break from where he comes from and who he is as an individual, and then putting him and thrusting him into a situation like this is very fascinating. Georgina's character, she has a lot of heavy lifting she has to do from a physicality standpoint, from an emotional standpoint. Like she's hitting all the perfect marks. This is the only knock that I have with this. Georgina's decisions in this film, I feel, are not just reckless, and they play to the trope perfectly as far as a horror film, but some of them were downright just, it felt like this doesn't add up. I don't think a person would do this kind of thing. Like, I'm like, I can't put myself in the same shoes, but as far as Tess is concerned, some of the things that she just decided to do, it just did not add up. And it was kind of like, I felt like it was making the character feel less fulfilling, making her make those choices like that, because it just wouldn't be, it didn't seem realistic. Like, I was kind of like, once you understand one thing, like, okay, by any means necessary, we're not gonna do this. And I think they did some really smart things of putting her in situations where, okay, a person would do this, a person would try to get out like this, and it doesn't work for whatever the reason or for whatever the circumstance. So I think that that is very fascinating. Now, when it comes to, I'm not gonna say what the entity is or what's actually happening. Now that, how they handle that is terrifying. And it's interesting because they get Richard Blake to play this character, the fourth character that kind of plays a role into this entity. All four characters, it goes through one cycle to show you where all this went, how did this start, and what's been happening. Now, some stuff is fill in the blank. It's using a lot of exposition, and if you're not reading between the lines, you're not going to understand certain things about this entity. But when you get it, it is disturbing. Like, it is really messed up, creepy, disgusting, everything you could think of. I think this is a decent horror movie. I don't know if it's a great one. I think that the framing of it, the sound design, the cinematography, even downright to the acting, like I think it's all good, but it's the decision-making to make characters, and I'm not knocking Justin Long's character, because I think that they play him, as far as his character, I fully respect how they handled his character and his decisions and what he did. I think it was more so Tess. Like, it was just certain things that just, like, I was like, no, like, it just didn't add up, you know? And I think that's the only thing I'm going to knock it for points, because everything else from a framework standpoint, I think it was actually really engaging, really thrilling, and actually seeing it in theaters, it was creepy. But yeah, I rate this at like a 6.5 or a 7 out of 10. I think it is worth the watch once. I don't know if I'd rewatch it again. Because you know how some horror movies like, you know, Cabin in the Woods or Descent, like no matter how messed up or disturbing things go, like you really want to kind of watch them again. I don't know if I really want to watch this again once I understand what the punchline is and what really happened. Even from my perception, like I think it was still a good film. I just don't know if I rewatch it again. Let me know what you think about Barbarian. If you've already seen it, make sure you like, subscribe, hit the bell button. Make sure you comment. Tell me your thoughts. Peace, guys.